What? Huh. Yeah, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Just got back from paintballing, which is about as close as to real war as my generation's ever going to get. Absolutely loved it. Had a great time. I really respect military stuff. I always have. I was in the CCF at school for 7 months. I got kicked out for irresponsibility with a rifle, which I won't go into here. But basically, had an absolute blast. It was absolutely great. I tried to get some of my mates to come down with me, but they were busy because it was a Tuesday, and it was fantastic. I turned up. I had all my own army gear from CCF, and I went down the bus, and we went. Actually, funnily enough, on the bus, I was sitting next to these two kids who did this sweet thing. I wasn't watching them. I was sort of doing it through the corner of my eye because you get in trouble for looking at kids. But he was doing this thing to his mate that goes like this. Looks real, doesn't it? So as if there's a wall or something there. Anyway, I had an absolute blast at paintball, and I think I've basically decided I'm going to become a paintball instructor. Those guys are brimming with self-confidence, and they know it. You can tell because they sort of, when they stroll over, and this guy strolled over and flicked his flag on the floor, and you could see that he knew that we all wanted his job. And he was also really good to me as well, because when I turned up, basically, apparently it's annoying, but you're supposed to let them know in advance that you're coming. So I sort of showed up in all my gear and hadn't told them I was coming. They already had two teams. There was a church youth group and a bunch of rugby lads who were on some sort of team building exercise because they'd lost 15 games in a row. And neither were that keen on having me involved, but eventually the church group relented, as they tend to, so I joined them, and as I say, this instructor kind of gathered us all together, and we're all you could tell everyone was up for it. Well, war's great because it kind of makes you feel it makes you bond with people really quickly, which I've found works to my advantage. People are more willing to kind of let me join in and be part of things. But he strolls over and he's like, "Right, lads, come round," flicks his fag on the floor. And he takes out the gun. It's like, basically, this is your gun. This is your standard rifle. You've got your gas canister at the back. Make sure you keep that under your shoulder. Don't shoot each other too close, lads. Don't do it. You're only going to hurt yourselves. And that is something I would tend to do if someone hadn't told me otherwise. And they start shooting on the floor. It's like it's rapid. It's rapid fire. So and this dust is going. So I was looking around the group and you could tell everyone was like, yes. And then he builds out a flashbang as well, and we were like, there's no way he's going to do that here, surely. But he did. Flashbangs are basically like this. It's like a thick pencil, and then you sort of strike the top, and it just goes. And then he sort of lobbed it over our heads, and we're like, oh. So I was going to get 7 or something, but it turns out I think they're about £9 each. So I didn't get one, but basically it worked to my advantage in the end, because in one of the games I had one lobbed at me, and all it did was conceal me in smoke, so I was just pelting people off like doof, doof, doof. But they could still hit me though, because it was essentially a cloud of smoke that had yellow pellets flying out of it, so obviously there was a target there. But had an absolute blast. We played this game called Capture the Flag, where you're supposed to capture a flag. And I was on defence. I got put in defence because I wasn't allowed to attack or anything, because I wasn't one of the original guys and so on. But it was great fun. I was perched at the top of a hill, and I was at the back like this, just picking people off, just doof, doof, doof. And it's amazing because you get to see the yellow bullets go. But I wasted quite a lot because there was quite a thin tree in front of me, and I was trying to hit it, and I was getting so close, but then didn't hit it. So I kept trying, just to satisfy that feeling, and didn't manage to get it, but wasted about 50 pellets. And then during a bit where they all got close, I panicked and just kept my finger down on the trigger and essentially shot all my bullets in the first game. So the rest of the rounds, I was bulletless. So I was just doing lots of hiding, which I imagine is what warfare would be like for me. Actually, I'd probably do that, hide under dead bodies, that sort of thing. But it was really great fun. I got a bit in trouble actually, because in that first game towards the end, the rugby lads, a couple of their girlfriends were with them, and I snuck up on one towards the end of the game, and it was probably closer than I was supposed to be, but I was so excited I ended up pinging her on the back of the head of the exposed bit about 6 times, and so she started crying, and then everyone's like, oh, who is he? Why is he here? But then one of the church lads winked at me like that, so it was all right, and they let me play on. But then in the end game, I got because I hadn't got any bullets left or anything, I'd been hiding quite a bit, and there was obviously a few out to get me because of what I'd done to the girl, and they did, and they shot me about 16 times in the back, and usually I'm fine with that sort of thing, and I was like, I was laughing about it, but by about the 11th bullet, I kicked off and went pretty mental. and so just basically volunteered myself out. You're supposed to hold your gun up like this and walk casually to the thing, but I was just getting pelted from left to right, all my sides. So I sort of scarpered and hid behind the net. And basically, when you're behind the net, you're not allowed to shoot your gun because everyone's got their masks off. And I did know this, and I respect the profession of a paintball instructor, and he had warned us. But I'd forgotten, so I was just shooting some air at the ground because it was making the leaves go poof, poof, poof. And he had warned me not to, so I did deserve it. But he basically shot me from about 50 yards in the middle of my back, and they have quite powerful guns, the instructors. And again, I kicked off and ended up throwing a rock at him. So I had to leave, but I had a great time. And I think I'm going to look into it as a profession, because, you know, cycling proficiency doesn't really pay much money, and, you know, there's been some issues there with kids having accidents and stuff, and maybe it's just not the career for me. So fingers crossed this is the next chapter in my life. All right.